You're watching Leafs Morning Take with host Nick Alberga and former NHLer Jay Rosehill. The show starts now.
They didn't play, but it was an ideal night for the Toronto Maple Leafs as we watch the action on Tuesday night in the NHL. It's Nick Alberga and the guy who broke the Scott Laughton trade, Dave Pagnotta, presented by Bet365. It's the Wednesday edition of Leafs Morning Take. How do you like that title?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Not necessary. Just working away, buddy. Just working away. They got their boy.
Well, that's the replacement. If you recall, I guess 7 years ago now, the way I would intro you on NHL Network Radio, the guy who broke the John Tavares signing. So I think you've upgraded.
Yeah. It made some traction over the years, certainly. But as we know, they needed to hit the dot. They got Laughton. He's got another year. Good move by them, and everybody needs to relax because it's been like 3 games or whatever it has been. Let these guys, let Carlo as well, kind of figure out what the hell they need to do here to get used to the new system.
Yeah, we're going to get into my tweet from yesterday. People are freaking out left and right. It's been 2 games for these guys. They haven't played a home game, and already people are writing them off, I should say. Our Super Chat charity partner this season is Sick Kids. Want to make sure that your question or comment gets on the show. Hit us up with a Super Chat. Proceeds from our Super Chat will go to Sick Kids, ranked the #1 research-intensive children's hospital in Canada and 3rd in the world. So my biggest question I had for you on today's podcast, have you gotten some sleep since Friday, Dave?
Yes, since Sunday. Managed to get a couple full nights sleep in. That's good. Refreshed. The espresso has not been as necessary as it was last week. I think my blood level was just caffeine. But hey, new week. We got some games coming up. Thursday against Florida and Saturday against the Sens. 2 important games, especially for a team that's trying to solidify that first spot in the division. So I'm rested. Hopefully the boys are too after a couple days off, and we'll see tomorrow.
I've seen you in action, man. What did your screen time look like? Like, we'll say Wednesday, Thursday, Friday leading up to the deadline.
I haven't even checked. A lot. I know, when was it? Wednesday night, when things started to really heat up with respect to Rantanen, even the Islanders, Brock Nelson, and Kyle Palmieri and everything. Things started to really heat up that night. I think I got off the phone about 1 a.m. ish. Stayed up till about 3, woke up around 7, and then it was just the same thing the next night. And then, Thursday night was like 2 hours with all the Rantanen stuff going on. So minimal sleep, but that's the way it is. That's how it is. If I didn't want to do it, I wouldn't be doing this. So it's fun stuff. And then you get to see and hear all the crap that didn't go down during and after the fact. It's like a lot of teams tried to do a lot of big things, and like a lot of teams do every year, and it just doesn't happen. Don Waddell told me this a couple of weeks ago, GM of Columbus. 90 to 95% of the guys that are talked about never move. So you can imagine how much activity is actually going on behind the scenes.
Okay, so hypothetically, you get Mikko Rantanen. Does he play with Tavares and Nylander, or is he with Matthews, you think? What do you do there?
Oh, you have to put him with Matthews. If you end up pulling that trade off, nice job on that. If you end up pulling that trade off, and Mitch is not there, excuse me, then he's with Matthews. If Mitch is there, then yeah, it's Nylander and Tavares. But if it ended up being the first thing, then I mean, it's a no-brainer. That's where you slot him.
We're talking hypotheticals because it's not going to happen. But, man, we've got to break down and sift through. This is one final time because I know people in the chat on Monday hated it, and they're like, let's just move on. No, I want to uncork and unwind everything from the fallout of Friday and Saturday and Sunday. So why don't we sift through the latest? And you've had a lot of news and notes via social media and your various hits throughout both countries here in Canada and the States. The Rantanen situation, like how close were the Maple Leafs on that front?
To be honest, I don't think they were super close. I mean, they were definitely in the ballpark. So a lot of information. So okay, let's rewind a little bit. Middle of the week is when the conversations get heated up, I should say, and then Carolina asks about Mitch, and then things just kind of went from there. They knew at the start of the season he didn't want to talk contract. He wasn't going to waive his no move. But when you get prepared, or excuse me, when you get an offer like that, you have to be prepared. You got to go back to him and say, hey, here's the latest. Have you changed your mind one way or another? No, you want to stay, you'll deal with it after. Cool. So that was off the table. I can so also rewinding a little bit to yesterday, and we have Marek coming on a little bit later. Great job, great interview they had yesterday with Eric Tulsky, the GM of the Hurricanes. Andy Scott had an interview on Sportsnet on the radio side, and said that the 4 teams only list that Rod Brindamore had referred to over the weekend was inaccurate. And then yesterday, Tulsky told Jeff that they did provide a 4-team list. I think there's a little bit of well, I'm going to try to clear up some of the cloudiness. So there was a 4-team preferred list. There were 4 teams that, these are our top 4 teams that we'd like to go to. And my understanding is obviously Dallas, Florida, Toronto, and Edmonton. Those were the 4 preferred team list. And I can confirm with 1,000,000% certainty that he was willing to sign in Toronto and he was willing to sign in Edmonton. And I know there's been a lot of crazy misinformation I don't even want to say misinformation because nobody's really gotten the whole story. And it's bits and pieces. Like I was told over the weekend that, there was some murkiness. Was Toronto? Weren't they? Would he have waited till the summer? So I got clarity finally. And yesterday I got clarity on Edmonton. But there were other teams that were in the mix, and there were other teams he would have considered, like Vegas, for example. So I think the 4-team list, more so than anything, was these are my top 4 preferred destinations. Figure that out. And then if somebody else comes in the mix, like a Vegas, then we'll consider it. LA entered the mix. They put a respectable offer, was my understanding, involving a current roster player. But he wasn't willing to sign there, so moot point. Edmonton, he would have entered those discussions because they were on his list, but they had no assets to trade. So the trade discussions, they never really evolved, not to the extent of Toronto and certainly not of Dallas. After the Marner situation was cleared, Carolina wanted Matthew Nyes in a package. And every sense I got was Toronto didn't want to do that. So they shifted to the 2 prospects, the 2 firsts, and I believe there was something else in there. But they liked Dallas's offer. They wanted a proven guy at the NHL level in Logan Stankoven, and they went with that one. So look, for the people that were in the chat on Monday, and I'm sure some today that are watching right now are going, just enough of this. And I would love to have this be the end of it, for at least from my side too. But I just wanted to put that clarity out there that yes, he would have signed in Toronto. Yes, he would have signed in Edmonton. They didn't like the package from Toronto as much as Dallas, and Edmonton never really got in the batter's box in terms of what they were willing to move in order to get him. So as far as that situation goes, that is the latest on all that. And all of this is really moot because he's a star for the next 8 years after this one. But that's just a little bit of the behind the scenes hoopla that went on.
A lot of moving parts, but I think pertaining to Marner, I'm under the belief that nothing has changed in the last week. Like, I think obviously he just controls his own destiny, but I could still see a pathway where he re-signs in Toronto or he goes elsewhere. I think the proof's in the pudding, and I actually think it's a pretty good situation for all parties involved because I'm interested in a motivated Marner. He's been great this year, and I don't know if you read it differently. Maybe you read him going to July 1 at least, but I still think there's a pathway for him to re-sign in Toronto at some point here. How do you view it?
Yeah, look, there's no sugarcoating the fact that he loves being in Toronto. He wants to be a Leaf. He wants to be here for the rest of his career. But given the way the market's going, he also wants market value. So again, the notion at the start of the season was we'll talk after the year, and all signs that I've been given were that he's going to July 1. Now, there's no talking period anymore leading up to July 1. But everybody loves to bend the rules a little bit. So I'm sure in the days leading up to July 1, him and his representation will have a good idea as to what options are available to him, what legitimate options are going to be available to him. So the benefit of being in Toronto is you get the extra year. You can sign 8. Now, he could re-sign with the Leafs after July 1 or on July 1, but then it's just 7 years. So with everybody else. So the only benefit of doing it before is getting the 8th year. I think I agree with you. I don't think anything has changed. It's not like they went to him and say, Mitch, we just don't want you here anymore. Can you go to Carolina, please? That's not what happened. They asked. There was an opportunity to sign Rantanen now, which means they had cost certainty available now if the trade went through. With Marner, there's a little bit of uncertainty, obviously, because he hasn't signed. So from a business perspective, makes total sense. But from Mitch's side of things, he wants to try to maximize his return. Would he sign a little bit less here as opposed to the open market? Probably. But I don't know what the definition of a little bit less is from him and his camp. And we're not going to know any of that until the season's done. Toronto season is done. So whether that's in May or June or whatever, that's, we won't know any of that until that point. All we know is he wants to be here. He wants to stay. He wants to be a Leaf for life. But he's also, going to command a lot of money. And on the open market, he will make more than Austin Matthews. $12 million in Dallas is about $14 million here. So will he take 13.5? Maybe. He'll definitely. I mean, I have a lot of belief and confidence that he'd get close to, if not more than, 14 million on the open market. And you're going to see teams like Chicago and Utah and Philly and Pittsburgh and the Islanders and Calgary and San Jose and so on go after him if he hits July 1.
Look, if you ask me right now, this is the conversation for me. I'm not paying him a penny more than 11.5 a year of what you paid Willie Nylander. If he goes out in the Stanley Cup playoffs, Conn Smythe favorite is unbelievable. I'm open to have that conversation, but right now I'm not. Nonetheless, all this stuff is so fascinating when you see the moving parts to trade deadline day and things moving forward in the now for this Maple Leafs team. The last call for anyone who wants to come on the first ever TLN Nation vacation. Pagnotta is coming. We're headed to Nashville from Thursday, March 20th to Sunday, March 23rd. We're offering 2 packages, one with flights, $24.50 plus tax, one without, $12.99 plus tax. Hotel rooms are double occupancy. Also, if you're looking for just a ticket to the game, we have a few of those left as well, priced at $200 a ticket. For more information on how to book, head on over to nationgear.ca. That's nationgear.ca. Or check out the link in our show bio. Life's too short for ordinary vacations. Sir Bob Laws writes in, Nick is naive to think Marner would sign for 11.5. Yes, I am, but that's my budget right now when it comes to Mitch Marner. Pagnotta, we got a lot to cover on today. Pardon me, go ahead.
You're not going to sign him at 11.5.
Oh, it's not going to happen in Toronto. I want to give him 8x8, honestly. So I may be the wrong guy to negotiate the contract with Mitch Marner. But as you referenced, excellent job on the sheet yesterday. You can check it out on the Daily Faceoff YouTube channel. Jeff Marek sitting down with Eric Tulsky, the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes. So Marek's coming up here, Pagnotta, in about 15 minutes time. Or actually, excuse me, closer to 5 minutes, actually.
I was going to say.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Got to use a clock?
Not really. Actually, at the Leafs Nation 401 here on YouTube, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Think you know hockey? Play Sobeys My NHL Picks weekly for the chance to win big prizes like a trip for 4 to this year's Stanley Cup Final. A new slate of games opens up every Thursday from now until the end of the regular season. So download the Sobeys app and start playing today for your chance to win. Funny enough, we were going over my picks from last week. I went 4 for 5. The only one I missed, I picked the Maple Leafs to beat the Colorado Avalanche. That is a tough loss because they were up 4-2 in that game, Dave.
Yeah, that one was – it was a little rough. Yeah, they took their foot off the gas a little bit, or Colorado just woke the hell up because they're a really good team too, even without Rantanen.
Yeah, I tell you what. The Avs had a good deadline. They had a good deadline. Nelson, Coyle, they did well.
Yeah, they surprised a lot of people after the Nelson deal, and they paid a hell of a price. Like Cal Ritchie is going to be, he's a stud, and he's going to be a hell of a pickup, or a hell of a player, sorry, for the Islanders, who got a hell of a pickup by bringing him in that trade. Leafs poked around, but they weren't giving up that. So, and they don't have a prospect at that level with that potential right now in Richie. And then everybody thought, okay, that was kind of it. Like that was maybe they add a depth piece, which they did in bringing Eric Johnson on the back end, and then all of a sudden, boom, Middlestat leaves, Coyle comes in. A change of scenery for both probably going to help. Coyle so far looking good, so I like what dude, that Dallas Avalanche first round matchup that's looking like a real thing is going to be like 9 games in 7. It's going to be friggin' a bloodbath, and I can't wait. And I know Rantanen can't wait either for that potential. He wants a little bit of your favorite revenge.
Love that word, and we're just as excited here in the Atlantic Division. So the Leafs back home after a grueling stretch, where again they played 2 home games in 42 days, and now getting set to host the Florida Panthers, who were sitting pretty against Boston on Tuesday, up 2-0, and they surrender 3 unanswered goals, lose that game in regulation. How about the Boston Bruins helping out the Toronto Maple Leafs in the standings last night? Tampa loses as well.
Yeah, and right now, if things work out, I mean, I know I'm gunning for it. I'm cheering for it. Give me Toronto, Ottawa round 1, and Tampa, Florida round 1. Like, give me all the havoc, all the craziness, all the chaos right out of the gate in the first round. Those 2 matchups, Edmonton and LA for the 55th year in a row or whatever it is. Like, give me all of that, and then Colorado, Dallas. I want bloodbath across the board in the playoffs. I want it to happen. Leafs have a game in hand. Obviously, an important game for the standings tomorrow against Florida. I don't care. Give it to me.
Yeah, it excites me as well when you look at this potential matchup here, and any matchup for that matter, even the Leafs' perspective. Like, I don't know who they're going to take on here in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. And certainly I think the teams involved, the Florida Panthers, the Tampa Bay Lightning, even the Ottawa Senators have been on fire as of late. And it's looking more and more likely that it could be a Leafs-Sens Battle of Ontario in the first round. But there's just so many moving parts, Dave, to this whole scenario when you look at a potential first-round matchup. But I'm really excited to see how the Leafs can go toe-to-toe here with the Florida Panthers. Maybe it's an unfair barometer because of the guys who are out for the Panthers right now. We see Ekblad get the suspension. Matthew Tkachuk's out. Brad Marchand, still weird to see him in a Panthers uniform. But I think it's a pretty measuring stick game coming up tomorrow night.
Yeah, it will be. I mean, you look at the rest of the roster, they're deep. You still got to battle Bennett and Barkov, and they got Jones on the back end. Goaltending has been great for them. So, look, Verhaeghe always plays well when he comes home. You have other pieces as well that are going to be a tough task for the Leafs tomorrow. But these next 2 games, again, Florida tomorrow, Ottawa on what's it called? Saturday. Just as important. So these are a couple good measuring sticks, and let's see how they measure.
Lastly, before we get to Jeff Marek here, we talked about it off the top, but clearly a lot of contention in the market already when it comes to the new additions. Haven't even played a home game, but Carlo and Lawton, what did you make of the deadline pickups for the Leafs?
Well, they haven't scored 6 goals already each, so clearly they lost. They lost those trades. Just calm down. Let them get acclimated. There's a reason they brought these boys in. They didn't just exclusively try to bring in rental pieces. Lawton's got another year. Carlo's got 2. These were pieces they wanted now and to help them, beyond this season, obviously. So let's just get them acclimated. Again, no home games. They got a home stretch coming up. They'll turn it around. I mean, I don't even know if they got to turn it around. You'll see what they're capable of soon enough, put it that way.
You think you're tired. Imagine these guys, right? You're insider extraordinary, sleeping 2 hours a night. But what a whirlwind for Lawton and Carlo. And I just love when guys are dealt. Like, there's like a speed round to get these guys there for the game too. I never got that. You have a billion games to go. Just let them chill for one game.
Right. And it's a lot too. I mean, I get it. Like, from Lawton's side of things, yeah, he's a local boy, but he's got to deal with the family and kids and moving and saying goodbye to your buddies and then trying to pack and trying to figure out all these. Like, there's a lot that goes into it. It's not just, all right, well, peace out, hop on a plane, and all of a sudden my stuff's going to mysteriously get there. And again, he didn't come home. So it's a whirlwind for some of these guys, especially at that time of year. Earlier on, some guys find out not on deadline day, but leading up to it. Some guys find out the morning of they've been traded, and it doesn't get announced till the afternoon, or they find out right after the skate, and it doesn't get announced till like 6 p.m. or something like that. So they have a little bit more prep time. But this time of year, especially deadline day, it's bang, 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 go, go, go.
It's funny. It's like you're hinting at the Jake Wallman trade or something with San Jose and Edmonton. Another trade you broke, by the way. The following interview is brought to you by Charm Diamond Centers. Get custom ring building delivered in less than 4 weeks with the Charm Masterpiece program and an unbeatable pricing policy. Charm Diamond Centers is proudly Canadian owned and operated since 1972 with more than 85 locations across the country through Charm and their sister brands. For more information, go to charmdiamondcenters.com. Once again, make sure you go check out the interview with Eric Tulsky from The Sheet, the GM of the Carolina Hurricanes, of course, with today's guest. It is Jeff Marek. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
I'm doing well. I wonder about your tastes and photographs over your left shoulder. And Dave, you are on fire on deadline. Well done. Take the rest of the week off. Good job, bud.
Well,
really well done.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm going to reiterate to everybody that interview with Eric Tulsky yesterday. Great pickup. Great job. There's a lot of nice information out of that one that he was revealing in that.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about Tulsky? Tulsky has first of all, when you look at all the things, I always tell people, I'll remind people of this. When you look at all the things that Eric Tulsky is qualified to do in life, and you have a look at all the patents he holds and etc., and all the education he has, and all the things that he could do in his life, he's chosen the lowest paying job. When you look at his resume and you look what he could do in his life, he's chosen the one that's fun for Eric Tulsky. Eric, we said before, he doesn't have to do this. He's really good at it. He's very skilled at it, but it's not as if he needs to do this. It's that great line from Slapshot. Look at Ned. He doesn't need hockey. Look at Eric. He doesn't need hockey. He just happens to be good at it. And he kind of, Dave, has this vibe about him that's at the end of the day, we're either going to win and people are going to like me, or we're going to lose and people are going to hate me. Everything else is just noise. I firmly believe that's how Eric Tulsky feels.
So a lot of moving parts. Again, I thought you did a great job and you make a great point. I think it's difficult to be a GM in this league, but I think you got to call a spade a spade. I think he did botch the situation with Mikko Rantanen. But what was your major takeaway from the interview?
But before we get there, I'm curious how you felt that he botched it.
I just think who knows? Because I don't know what to believe in this scenario. You're telling me that Carolina acquires the asset and doesn't find out if he's willing to sign there. Do you know more about that?
But that happens all the time, though. We just decided to make this a big deal because it happened the way that it did. But plenty of trades are made not knowing whether a player is going to extend. To your question, my main takeaway from the Tulsky interview was that this guy is going to be aggressive with the Carolina Hurricanes. He's not going to be a sit on his hands general manager. I don't think the owner is a sit on his hands owner. He's been criticized before for lack of a better term, squeezing the beaver on the nickel till it squeals. Is he frugal with his money? Well, yeah. Is he a very hands-on owner? Yes. But, generally that's the rule of thumb now. I kind of look at this. I kind of look at this and say, this is Eric Tulsky taking a swing. And honestly, I think the NHL would be a much better league if more general managers took a swing. It didn't work. They tried to recoup as many assets as they could. And I'll tell you, Nick, I firmly believe that if Tulsky had the chance to do it over again, I think he would. And I think we'll see Tulsky do more things like this with the Carolina Hurricanes when he has a chance to do it. That was my main takeaway from it. That he looks at it and says, okay, we tried to do something. He kind of, if I have a read on Tulsky, he kind of has an entrepreneur's brain. I'm going to try 10 things, and if 7 of them work, then that's how you win championships. That's how you're successful. You're not going to hit on every single thing that you do. And if you just go and live and die trade by trade, you can look at this one and say, okay, did it work out the way that they wanted? No. But I would flip back and say, good on him for taking a swing at it as to why Rantanen didn't want to stay. Now, by the way, the one thing that I was glad that Tulsky cleared up which I think a lot of people looked at the Rod Brindamore interview and said, well, okay, if he came to Carolina right away, he said there's only 4 teams they're going to play for and you're not one of them. That's cause for concern. And that's where I'd very much warm up, Nick, to what you're saying here.
Yeah.
But Tulsky said that wasn't the case. He didn't use the 4 teams I'll play for until a week before trade deadline.
So many moving parts. And again, you didn't talk much about the Maple Leafs. I don't blame you. Like, a lot of it was about Rantanen, about the Carolina Hurricanes, pivoting to Stankov and getting the picks. But what did you make of everything that came out of Toronto, Marek, as well, when it came to Marner? Like, I'm subscribing more to this theory about it being a bluff that they even went to Marner. Like, they knew he was going to say no.
I think that, well, first of all, I look at it. There's a couple of ways. So I'm glad you got us here. There's a couple of ways to look at this thing. There's the way that many people are looking at it, which is, oh, they've offended Marner. Now there's not going to be a hometown discount. I know Maple Leafs fans are up in arms. What are you doing? It's a sensitive relationship, blah, blah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Can you imagine, just for 1 second, everybody watching and listening right now, just imagine 1 second. If you had the Carolina Hurricanes, Eric Tulsky approaching Brad Treliving about Mikko Rantanen, and he refused to even entertain the idea, what would we be saying about Brad Treliving? You have a chance, with all due respect to Mitch Marner, you have a chance to get Mikko Rantanen, and you don't even ask the player who has the no move clause. Like, at the end of it, like, Brad Treliving has a responsibility to this Maple Leafs team and improving it. And that extends more than just the relationship with Mitch Marner. And the one thing that we've learned in the salary cap era, going back to the beginning of it in 2005, is when everything is so close together, if you have a chance to make your team better, even if it's just by a tiny little bit, you have to do it. You have to do it, because that could be the difference. So I know a lot of people are focusing on it from the Marner point of view, and I get it. I understand it. But pull back for a second. If it comes out that Brad Treliving wouldn't even take that call to entertain that conversation, how are we talking about Brad Treliving?
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. How about the 2 guys they did get? Scott Laughton, Brandon Carlo on the back end, Jeff. Everyone's all up in arms because they haven't, done exceedingly well, beyond expectations already in the first few games, but they've got some games at home now. They get a little more acclimated to their home surroundings. What did you think about those 2 additions?
I'm with you, Dave. Like, I say, like, everybody calm down. Like, no one's hitting the ground here and setting records. I heard you mention, Scott Laughton, hometown guy, played in the GTHL. It's kind of worse when it's like that. When you go home, like, go ask Sheldon Surrey, Sherwood Park guy, what it was like going to play for the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah.
The hometown kid. Because there's just so many other demands placed on your schedule, and your phone just doesn't stop, and you're just trying to, like, look, I just got to get through a game, and I just got to get through a day, and I just got to find my pillow. I'm firmly of the belief that, the first week, maybe 2 weeks after a player changes addresses, like, initially some guys just sort of go on momentum and go on runs, but I'm with you, Dave. I think that you need a grace period here, or a breaking in period until the player feels comfortable with new teammates and a new coach, even if he may already be, comfortable with that city. But I like him because it's again, like, and here I am talking about both sides of my mouth because I love what Dallas did, picking up Mikko Rantanen. But it's not always the blockbusters at deadline, right? This is the story that's well told. It's sometimes, Berkey always reminds me the best move that he made for the Anaheim Ducks that year, around deadline, was picking up Brad May. And it's funny. I asked Scott Niedermayer about that. I'm like, what was the player that put you over the top? I'm expecting like some big fancy. He said Brad May. He said when Mayday joined, they were 4th line guy, dressing room guy, all that stuff. Hey, Dave, and he's like, yeah, it was Brad May. It was generally teams that tend to win have a tweak deadline as opposed to a trade deadline. How's that?
No, I like that. And I commonly bring up on this podcast 2 names from Cup winners in the last 5 years are Terry Lehkonen, Ivan Barbashev.
Yes.
And I think Scott Laughton can be that guy.
Yes. Barbashev is a brilliant example too. And if the Oilers would have won that year or gone farther that year instead of Vegas, we would have been talking about Matthias Ekholm and how brilliant of a move that was for Ken Holland. Those are. Can Scott Laughton be that? It's funny too. Can Scott Laughton be that guy? Is an interesting question, because And again, like I'll drag this back to Berkey's 2007 Ducks team. I thought that Sammy Paulson should have won the Conn Smythe Trophy. I know for a second, like Sammy Paulson wasn't going to win, but you guys saw that playoff. Like, was Sammy Paulson, with all the respect, Scott Niedermayer and Chris Pronger and everybody, was Sammy Paulson not the best player for the Anaheim Ducks?
Shutting everyone down.
Right. And then look when the Pens win, with their third line, and the Tampa Bay Lightning with, like, Yanni Gordon, Barclay Goodrow. Like, this is how you win. If you look at playoff rounds and playoff series and entire playoffs, like, top sixes tend to wash. Those are the ones you game plan against. And how many times have we said this? This is going to be determined by who has the better goaltender and who has the better third line. So if you're looking at it from potential versus actual, I think there's the potential for that. We won't, of course, see the actual till the middle of April.
And typically those guys, Jeff, those guys are the glue guys. Those are the room glue guys. And that's what a lot of managers talk about, is the importance of not only bringing in somebody that's going to gel on the ice, but it's almost equally as important, especially nowadays, that they gel in the room.
It's funny too, because you always, Dave, hear the criticism. Oh, he's a good guy in the room. Yeah, they don't flood the room, Marek. Yeah, they don't flood the room. Give me hockey players. But I think you're bang on. And here's why. NHL season's long, man.
Yeah.
Like, the 82 games is a lot. And when, like, February starts to hit and it's the dog days, like, the natural default for a player is just to be grumpy, just to be grouchy. And that's fine. But you need, like, your good guys around the team to make sure that you don't hate coming to the rink every single day. Like, you're right. I know it doesn't necessarily show up in the boxcar numbers or the analytics. Like, it doesn't. But ask any of those players. Like, they've all been around teams where everybody is miserable, and then you just start hating on everything. You need some guys that are around that make it, like, still fun to come to the rink and still make it an enjoyable experience. Is everybody professional, and should they all behave professional? Of course. But at the same time, we're all human beings. And I think we've all been in situations where it's like, oh, I got to work with this guy again. Here we go. All right, here we go. But then there are some guys on your team, they're like, yeah, man, I get to go out with Nick and Dave today. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you so much, Marek. And
Buttercup.
Dude, I want to stir shit up. I was just thinking about this interview. I want to stir shit up. So I'm watching the Florida Panthers last night.
Yeah.
Sam Bennett, just like, I don't know, like, he's in it with Zadorov out of all
Zadorov.
people. Like, it's like, what? I don't know. Sam Bennett.
And they didn't stop.
I know.
They didn't stop. They just kept going. It was
He's
like
holding pasta.
For all the old timers watching, old Maple Leafs fans watching and listening to this right now, it was like Daryl Sittler and Gary Howitt, still one of my favorite, where they went down and, like, they're on their knees still throwing with one another. I'm watching this thing last night. I'm like, that's like Sittler and Howitt. They're on the ice. They're still scrapping. It was awesome.
Oh, it was just so great. And that battle, Boston and Florida, the Bruins are not giving up. They traded half their roster. But what I'm getting to is Sam Bennett. This guy gets to July 1. There is going to be a call that's made even prior to July 1, in my opinion, from the Maple Leafs. Do you agree?
So what? I'll tell you what. Like, the term that I was told about Sam Bennett come July 1 is cattle auction. Like, that's exactly the type of play. Like, again, like, I look at it now. Whenever I watch a game, whether it's even junior hockey or minor youth hockey, like, I go to games and I go, like, where did all the bad skaters go? Like, you can't skate, you can't play. Like, everybody can skate, everybody can shoot, right? What do managers and coaches always say? What else can you give me? Like, who's bringing the intangible? Who's bringing the snarl? Now, having just talked about, Dave's point about the good guys in the room, like, Berkey will always tell me, like, yeah, Sam Bennett's nickname is Grouchy. Or grumpy or something like that. It's like, he's just like a wonderful, miserable guy to be around. Like, and as I get older, I love guys like that. Like, I love the Chris Prongers. I love the Sam Bennetts. But you bring, like, a nasty bit of business on the ice who you just hate playing against. I mean, the line is long, and generally teams don't let go of those types of players. Like, you look at the Florida Panthers. They get new general manager. And what is the very first thing that he does? Like, Florida's first acquisition. You guys remember this? Bill Zito comes in. What's the first acquisition he makes? He brings in Patrick Hornquist.
Oh, yeah.
Who's just like a miserable SOB to play against. And, like, so many times, like, yeah, I'm just going to bring in more grouchy, miserable, awful players to play against. And lo and behold, there's, Alexander Barkov holding the Stanley Cup. I think it'll be a cattle auction, and I think that the Maple Leafs will be one of those teams that'll be right in there. But much like Mitch Marner, he's also represented by Darren Ferris, and Darren Ferris likes to and has made no bones about it. Like, I believe in taking our guys to market. I believe in getting them to July 1st. Doesn't mean they can't resign, but they've earned that right. And Darren Ferris has always been one of those agents that's always maintained it's the right thing to do to take them, unless like a GM just comes and offers something ridiculous. So I do think it'll be a cattle auction, and I do think the Maple Leafs will most likely be one of those teams that would show some interest in Sam Bennett for sure.
And he's only 28. Like, that's
but how many games? Okay, but in Sam Bennett games, we always talk about dog years.
True.
Think about Sam Bennett games. Like, there's like a soft skill game for 28 years, and then there's like a Sam Bennett game. I get what you mean, Dave, and I do pick up what you're putting down. It's just like there's hard miles on that body, man.
Yeah,
good on him. Like, he's never taken a shift off, but it's not like he looks for a soft skill game.
So with what they have in Florida, and obviously no Ekblad for the rest of the season, first couple of games of the playoffs, Tkachuk likely, hopefully for their sake, back come playoff time. Marchand's trying to get back before the end of the regular season. They've got their guys. Tampa brings back Gord, adds Bjorkstrand. How do you see this top three, with everything all three of these teams have done, kind of shaping out here as we get down the stretch?
More important than ever to win the division. Normally I say, don't worry about it. Don't blow your brains out trying to win the division or the Presidents or anything like that. Like, just be ready for playoffs. But if there's one division, and maybe you can make this argument for the Central too, but the division in the East, where if you're going to do anything here, you really need to win this division. Like, this needs to be eyes on the prize if you're the Maple Leafs. And one, because I don't think you want to face either Florida or Tampa in the opening round, and two, just let those two knock the crap out of each other.
Right.
Like, seriously. And then just like, and maybe you have, like, I heard you talking, Dave, a second ago. I would love to see that too. Either Toronto against Ottawa or Toronto against Montreal. Like, give me 7 of that. That's great. And then, if you're the Maple Leafs and you make it by the first round, then you wonder, okay, what's going to be left of Florida and Tampa after a first round playoff series, the likes of which we think is going to be brutal and vicious, and hopefully for whoever finishes first goes 7 games.
The most common question I get on a daily basis, and 1 out of a billion people stop me on the street, but what do you think of this team? Can they do it? So I ask you, Jeff Marek, what do you think of this Maple Leafs team? Can they do it this year?
I'll go back to you and say, let me reference it this way. When Joel Quenneville is interviewed for a job, he only asks one question. Do you know what that question is?
No.
Who's our goaltender? It's the only question that Quenneville has. You have any questions, Joel? Yeah. Who's our goalie? Like, that's it. I know the Maple Leafs have had issues scoring in the playoffs. Absolutely. The problem has not been the blue line. At times, the goaltenders for the Maple Leafs have been hard to hit. It looks like that's been addressed now, but I always get caught, like we all do, saying this year's different. This year's you don't understand. Like, this is why they're different, and this is it. This is going to be the last time with this group. To me, the main thing is if they can get a save. We know they can win 2-1 games. You would figure that eventually Marner or Matthews, well, Nylander already has, figure it out offensively. To me, the big difference is goaltending. And it's the old saying, you have the goalie at 70%. If you don't, it's 100. And it looks like the Maple Leafs have the goaltending. So I will be cautiously optimistic, my friend, and say, yes, this is probably a year they can do something. Please burn this the minute I leave the show. I don't need old takes exposed. There's Marek saying again, like, how many times, Marek, can you like take the bait? Like, get your hand.
The headline later today, tease somewhere.
Yeah,
Marek
get your hand up.
Leafs Cup favorites.
Marek can't stop putting his hand on the stove. Marek, just stop, man. Just stop.
It's fine. We love hot takes. It's a fun time of year with the time change over the weekend. The weather's been a bit better. We know just around the corner is the Stanley Cup playoffs, and looking forward to it. Once again, great interview yesterday. Great job so far. Thanks, here man. With the sheet. Shout out to Zach Phillips as well. Thank you so much today.
Billy. Nick, thanks as always. Change that picture, man. Like you gotta class up the joint.
It's
And Dave,
revolving. There's other picks. You know, I got
Okay,
more in
good.
my.
I know. You're just trying to shine the apple because I'm on today. Okay, that's fine. Then move it along. Get rid of that. And again, like Dave, like in all seriousness, like deadline's a hard day. Like good for you, man. You killed it. Great job.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
See you, bud.
Thanks, boys.
The best, man. Jeff Marek. Teammates again after our time over at Sportsnet. Appreciate his time today. Again, go check out that interview with Kelsey. Yeah, I was thinking out yesterday, man. Like, there's one interview you want to do in the hockey world right now. It's probably Eric Tulsky, just because of everything that's transpired in the last 2 months, and they got him on the sheet yesterday. So go check that out. But looking forward to everything that's going to transpire, man. I don't know. I got that feel, that pep in my step yesterday. The weather a bit better in Toronto, got a bit colder today, but we just know lingering. I mean, it's St. Paddy's Day next week. And then the Stanley Cup playoffs, man, just around the corner. Like Rosie laughs, but I'm like, just wake me up in the playoffs. We're almost in the playoffs. I'm about to come out of hibernation here.
Yeah, it's going to go quick. Like these next 5 weeks, it's 5 weeks Saturday, the first day of the playoffs. Wow. April 19th, I believe. 5 weeks as of Saturday. So, and it's going to go quick. It's going to go like we're in Nashville in a week or whatever it is. And then you come back and recover from that. And you've got the rest of the stretch, 4 weeks to go at that point. It goes quick. And these matchups, it's not like we've got playoff matchup races. We've got who's hitting 50. We've got who else is joining McKinnon at 100. Who's taking the rookie races? Ovi. The whole exactly. Like I didn't even get to that. There's so many different storylines now over these next 5 weeks. If you're a hockey fan, you're loving every minute of this shit. Like, this is amazing.
It's the best time to be alive. This time of year, March Madness is coming too. It's just, again, on the up here and looking forward to this Maple Leafs postseason run. Hopefully it's a long one. Zach Phillips writes in, patio pints. Can't wait for that. Can't wait to golf on game days. Like, there's just so much to look forward to. And again, thank you to Jeff Marek for dropping by. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button at the Leafs Nation 401. As the official sub of the Toronto Maple Leafs, check out Firehouse Subs for a limited edition souvenir cup that is perfect for game day celebrations. Available in select restaurants across Ontario. Fans can collect this team-inspired souvenir cup with the purchase of any sub combo while supplies last. Be sure to check out the Brisket Hat-Trick. It's a Canada-exclusive menu item. This hot and hearty sub is piled high with smoked turkey breast, Virginia honey ham, and beef brisket. It is topped off with sweet and tangy slaw barbecue sauce and mayo and served on a toasted sub roll. Head to your local Firehouse Subs to grab your limited edition Toronto Maple Leafs souvenir cup today. By the way, that was my first ever commercial. What did you think of it?
That's Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, Leo DiCaprio, grade A acting right there, buddy. That was top notch.
Shout out to our friends at Firehouse Subs. Here's the cup. Go pick it up right now. It's beauty.
There you go.
I appreciate that. No, I think Rosie did a better job, man. The guy's just a natural. Like, he just hummed right into his role, his lines. I was kind of freaking behind the scenes. I won't lie.
Well, I mean, next time, the key to that is you sneak a little beverage right before you go on, kind of loosen you up a little bit. That's the trick.
Hey, luckily I had Zach Phillips just help me out, directing me behind the scenes, and I really, really appreciate that. But also looking forward, again, as mentioned, to this Thursday night game. Going to be a bit different, obviously, with some of the big names out for the Florida Panthers. But if you do recall, the first time these two teams got together this year, it was the Leafs who were undermanned and half their roster was out, and the Panthers pummeled them. I want to see the Leafs return the favor. Important note in the standings, the Leafs 2 points back of Florida with 1 game in hand. As mentioned, Tampa loses last night, so the Leafs 3 points up on Tampa. They've each played 64 games, so both, by my math, have 18 games remaining in this season, but should be a good one. The Leafs back on home ice. I don't know how you read the game against Utah. They got lucky to win that game. They won the shootout, but they looked really, really fatigued.
Yeah, they did. Sometimes the road takes a toll, right? And they've been on a stretch, so get that out of the way. You got a couple days to relax and recover. Had an off day, hit the skate, get back into the swing of things. And it's important, like we all know, it's an important game. And we've been saying it. Jeff said it. You want first in this division. You don't want to beat this. You have to go to battle and try to beat the shit out of each other in the first round right away against those caliber teams, either Florida or Tampa. Let those two teams do it. They're going to come into the second round. Obviously, you got to get there, but they got to go into the second round, and they're going to be a little bruised up, banged up. So, eye on the prize. First place, you have that. You have Ottawa. You may face Ottawa if you end up playing first or finishing first. So you want a little message sending there as well. So let's see. The weather's getting better. We're getting down to the stretch. It's time to eye on the prize the shit out of the schedule, and it starts tomorrow for this club.
We need a T-shirt. Eye on the prize the shit out of this schedule. I like that.
Let's see if anyone can piece that together. You know what? Give us some patio recommendations for Friday too. It's supposed to be like 15 or something.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been on a patio in my life.
Oh, it's nice. It's barbecued.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. We do need T-shirts. Zach Phillips writes in, we do need T-shirts. But it's funny. We have a group chat here at Leafs Morning Take. Surprise, surprise. Unlike Team Canada or Team USA at the Four Nations or everybody ever. But I made a noise because Rosie piped in today. He's like, oh, Boston and Tampa both lost in regulation. But I responded with, the only team that doesn't scare me in the playoffs is Tampa. I'm scared of Montreal, scared of Boston. I'm scared of Ottawa. I'm scared of Florida. And what I'm getting at, I don't care who the Leafs play in the first round. We're making way too much about this conversation. I don't know if you feel the same way. I know there's preferred matchups, but dude, the biggest, vice for the Leafs or the biggest nightmare for them is themselves. They look each other in the mirror and they're like, shit, we can't do this. I don't care who they play. They're very talented, man.
Oh, they are. There's no question. There's a reason why they're fighting for first in the division. The only thing that scares me, I guess, about Tampa and Florida is that those are the last few cup winners, right? Minus Colorado in the middle. But those teams have been to the last 5 Stanley Cup finals. So they know what it takes to get there, and most of those rosters are still intact. Tampa lost, and then, Tampa won 2, then lost. Florida lost, then won. They know both sides of the equation. So that's the only thing that would get me going, shit, I don't like, this is a tough matchup. But it's year after year with the same thing. You can't have the same excuse year after year after year. So it shouldn't really matter who you're playing, whether it's those teams or the Habs or Columbus or Ottawa or Detroit or New York. It doesn't freaking matter. And I think with Berube behind the bench and with guys that have been brought in like Tannen, like OEL, like Lorenz, Stolars. I mean, you got 3 guys that won the cup last year. You've added them to your group. That mentality that's been in that room has shifted from day one, from the start of camp. We noticed it right out of the gate. You add Pacioretty in the mix, who presumably is back for playoffs and all that stuff. Like, you have all these guys that can add to the already talented roster you have. The mentality should and better be different. So the excuses are out the window. You're right. It doesn't matter who you play. This is a new ball game now.
What's your read on the Ekblad suspension? So you put out, among others, 20-game suspe, gets 18 in the regular season, 2 in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's important to note. But from everything you've gathered, did the league have any idea about this a while ago and waited until after the trade deadline? Because people, everybody loves their theories, conspiracy theories.
Yep. I saw stuff about people throwing shit at last year they knew in the playoffs, and Edmonton was dealing with it. No, just
did you
relax.
see that one about there was a Reddit post that somebody from Long Island, surprise, was suggesting that the Panthers all cheated last year and that's why they won the cup? Like,
you're not cheating, you're not trying. Right? Shut up with that stuff. Like, come on, give me a break. It's no, he screwed up. Like, everybody was going off. Oh, drugs. It's drugs. Yeah. It's not. He took some. So this is a good reminder for everybody else in the league. You can go out and get your own remedies, medicine, supplements, whatever the hell. Just vet it with your team. They may tell you it's approved, and it's approved by this agency and that agency and the national sport, whatever, NSA approved. You still got to check it with your team. And that's what he didn't do. And it bit him in the ass hard. So, he misses 20 games, 2 of which are playoffs. And we all know playoffs are sometimes suspensions are regular season and then playoffs are handled differently. But this is a full 20 swing. It's a bit of a pain in the ass. Like, they didn't want to have to deal with that. They thought they were stacking up. He's got to prove he's got a contract to sign in the summer. You think he wanted to jeopardize that by saying, I'll take some PEDs and it'll help me? that steroid shit doesn't work in the NHL. The muscle mass and everything, like that's different. If you want to take it, there are other things that could certainly enhance you, but this is what happens. And nobody really wants to take that risk. So you're risking the season, you're risking screwing up things with your team, and he's risking his next big contract. I don't think he's that stupid. So he's obviously clearly stupid enough to not check with the team, and he admitted that. But let's just calm down on all the conspiracy shit. There's enough of that in the world. We don't need to deal with it here.
Yeah, and I was talking about it yesterday. I still vividly remember, I think it was the Sochi Olympics. Nikki Backstrom took something and couldn't play in the gold medal final with Swedes. And it's I don't think he even did anything illegal. It's just they're ruling in the Olympics.
They're a little different. IOC's, they're
cuckoo. They're cuckoo.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, 20 games will have to sit. And, I've been talking about it a bit, but the whole chemistry aspect with Marchand coming in, Tkachuk's hurt. The suspension, I hope there's a lot of moving parts, and I hope Florida doesn't get up to potential. I mean, there's got to be a level of hope when you look at that roster and you compare it to the Maple Leafs. They're a really good team. They won the Stanley Cup last year, and they're in good position as well to be a force to be reckoned with this spring, right?
But there's still Barkov, Forsling, Bobrovsky,
I know,
Bennett, Verhaeghe, Lundell, Luostarinen.
Okay, you can stop.
Yeah, etc. Yeah, they're a good.
You're making up names now. You're like, Luostarinen. I thought you said Ristolainen. Who else?
No,
do we got?
Yes,
Is Zach Dalpe still on that team or what?
No, your boy. I don't
know. He is not there anymore. Dalpe Doctor is no longer on the Florida Panthers. But
no, but
again,
yeah.
They
got firepower. Tampa has firepower. Ottawa's showing they got firepower. I'm telling you. When that Cousins deal went down, I was going, oh, boy. Oh, Buffalo. Poor Buffalo. You're going to feel that one in a year or two.
Yeah.
Due respect to Josh Norris, because I think he'll be respectable. But Dylan Cousins he's going to go off. So you have to deal with eventually.
Yeah, Cousins is already going off for the Ottawa Senators, and they're a perfect example of a team that's been boosted by the trade deadline, which I think is ironic because you look at them at deadline day and everybody's emotional and tearing up, and Brady Tkachuk loses his friend, but they put their big boy pants on, and they've been winning games left and right. They've played well against the Leafs this year. I don't like that matchup. I'll just be blunt about it. I don't like the Battle of Ontario. I just think it's a tough matchup for the Leafs. You're going to have a very motivated Ottawa Senators team. Linus Ullmark stood on his head the other night. But again, I'll be crystal clear. The Maple Leafs are good enough to beat any team in this league in a best-of-7 series.
Yeah.
I think they beat themselves. They don't do that this spring. I think they go very, very far. Breaking news coming in from Bet365, where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat-trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app today and use the code NATION, that's NATION, NATION, to get in on the game. Must be 19 or older, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connexontario.ca. I don't know if you had a chance to look at tonight's card just yet, Dave, but anything specific in terms of what you like on the card?
Well, let's do a quick little peeky over here because I have not.
How about Montreal, Seattle, man? The Habs are lingering. They played Vancouver last night. That top line, maybe you zone in that top line in Montreal with Slavkovsky and Caulfield and Suzuki.
Yeah, I mean, look, Slavkovsky with 3 points last night, a goal and 2 assists. He chipped in on the first 3 goals that Montreal scored. He's got a tendency of going off in the second half of the season. It's taken him a little bit longer than last year. He finished with 50 points. He's on pace for, I think, 51, 52 points right now. I was doing the math earlier. That's going to be trouble down the stretch. If he's going and Suzuki and Caulfield are going, that's going to be a little bit problematic for some of the teams. I don't think there's enough there to get it done come playoff time, or to the playoffs, I should say. But they're going to be a pesky pain in the ass team for the next 5 weeks. They've got Seattle. Seattle, we obviously made some moves. They sold off some pieces. That's going to be an interesting one, especially on a back-to-back. But Dovesh is playing for the Habs. I like them in this one. I think they go back-to-back in it just to make things even that much more interesting. I think Seattle's going to start taking some strides backwards here. But this is also the Slavkovsky right matchup. I've got both of them hitting the score sheet tonight, and I got the Habs taking this one.
Vancouver, Calgary intrigues me. A big game in the Western Conference standings. Give me the Canucks after they lost to Montreal last night. And this is a big swing game in the standings, Vancouver and Calgary. So I like the Canucks on the road in Calgary. Dave, awesome job tonight. We'll see you tomorrow night. The Leafs and the Panthers from Scotiabank Arena.
That's right. It'll be a good one.
There you have it. Dave Pagnotta, the fourth period, stopping by as my co-host today. Thank you to everybody in the chat at the Leafs Nation 401. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Leafs Morning Take, wherever you find your podcast. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And don't forget to visit theleafsnation.com. Thank you to Jeff Marek for dropping by the show. Producer Vic, bang up job. As per usual, for Dave Pagnotta, I'm Nick Alberga. Jay Rosehill back in the mix on Thursday. Talk then. Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.